Well, hi everyone. How are you all? So this morning I'm going to talk about portals, but I'm going to hone in on portals that happen within our dreams. So let's start with that in the sense of I want to explain to you scientifically what they've discovered that happens, but then I want to go into divine um, dreams that we get and the different types of dreams that we can get and some of the symbolism that you can uh, start to learn and recognize what is being said to you. A lot of people dismiss their dreams, and when they start going, oh yeah, I had this dream, I go, please share with me if you're willing to, because there is a lot that our dreams tell us, and sometimes we dismiss things that we really should be listening to. So let's start. First of all, what happens when you sleep? Dreaming is actually a really important fundamental part of our sleep. So what happens is we go into, this has been scientifically proven, that when we sleep, we go into a tidy up or a reboot mode, in that our brain is sorting out things that have happened, and it's memory consolidation as well. And we learn facts and skills more quickly. So remember, part of the spiritual tools that I've shared with you is that at the end of the day, you wash off what you have experienced for the day, you process it. And then that actually gets you in a place where you're ready to then receive more information, because you're not cluttered with what's happened in your day. Now, our whole brain is actually active during dreams. And it's really interesting because a lot of people say, oh, I don't dream, I don't remember anything, all that sort of stuff. So part of, again, scientifically, why our brains need to dream is for wellness of the body. So sleep is devoid of anxiety. It's like therapy. It heals wounds. Sleep takes painful sting out of difficult traumatic and emotional episodes, offering emotional resolutions. Now, isn't that interesting? When people experience a horrific event, or they've had, some really bad news, they tend to want to sleep, because that's their body coping with it and keeping them safe when they're going through what they're going through. So, dreams can be a mental, emotional, and a sensory experience, as well as a spiritual download. And this is where people dismiss their dreams because they're not realizing that there is divine messages trying to come through. Now, remember, I shared, I'm assuming that I shared this on this platform, but I may not have. We create portals on our bed that, if I came and laid on your bed, being weird as I am, I would be able to tell you what your thought processes are, what you're thinking are, how you're feeling, because you leave that imprint in your bed. And it's really important that you create a space where you sleep that is, null and void of negative energy or influence, so that you can get as much divine inspiration that you can get while you're sleeping. Now, I love going to sleep because I love the process of what happens to me spiritually when I'm sleeping, and the downloads that I get and the insight that I get. So your spiritual dreams can reveal your connection to the divine, to God, to higher realms, and your higher self, because this is our journey. We're coming into connecting that higher consciousness with who God is and who we are and what that relationship looks like. Dreams enhance creativity and problem solving. Now, the example I can give you for this for myself is often when I have things that I have, going, okay, I need understanding on this, I need clarification. This is all my communication with God, that I'll go to bed and he will wake me up about 3, 4 o'clock and he will show me the solutions. He will show me the answers. I've had it in a dream, but I wake up and then I'm still in it, but I'm awake. And then I start to get solutions. And they're an important part of my life on moving forward and doing the things that I do. Your spiritual dreams can also reveal your inner thoughts, desires, and your destiny and purpose. Can give you guidance, insight, offering wisdom and clarity. Now, to get these things, you need to ask. You need to ask the Spirit to show you. And this is part, again, the process that I go through is washing off from the day and being prepared to go to bed and start receiving this guidance, this insight, wisdom and clarity, because I asked for it. Remember, it's all about your intentionality. If you just go to bed to go to sleep, then that's what you're going to get. If you go to bed with asking for downloads or spiritual experiences, then that's what you'll get as well. So your dreams can contain symbols significant to your life and to your spiritual journey, including encounters with divine figures and other beings or realms. So often you can be taken to another realm and experience different things in those realms. So this is all what can happen while you're asleep. Excuse me a minute. Amazing. All right, we just clear that right now. Spiritual dreams that reveal your connection with and to your higher self and realms. So dreams have impact on our lives, sometimes knowingly and unknowingly, both physically and spiritually. But I also want to say that your dreams can actually have impact on other people's lives. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. So different types of dreams. We can have dreams that reveal insight. They can make you aware of situations. There can be guidance or wisdom. You can have prophetic dreams, which are futuristic, that you are seeing your future. You could be seeing someone else's future, especially when it comes to people that you hold dear to your heart. And what I'm saying in that is, like, if you've got children or you're married or your parents, you can have dreams regarding them that can be futuristic. They can be visionary, and they can be destiny or purpose. They can also be warnings, and you could also be time traveling in your sleep. So I'm going to break that down a little bit more. In the sense of being insightful, there is awareness, there's solution, clarification, wisdom, and foresight. So I'll give you examples. Now, remember, everything that I share with you is my experiences, and that's what I always present to you guys, because they're my truth. And this has been part of my life, really, where I have had a lot of dreams that have been like global events or things that are coming or warnings for people. And this is where how to present those things to somebody else is it needs a lot of wisdom. So, part of one of my stories or my dreams is I had a dream. This goes back quite a few years now, that my niece was going to be in a car accident and it wasn't going to end very well. Now, when you're growing in, sharing the things that happen to you spiritually, particularly for me, this is my story, guys, is that I get a lot of downloads, but I find a lot of people don't want to hear what is what I need to share with them or what I have to say. And that's been a real frustration for me because I've seen so many things that I've seen come to pass. And I found it very frustrating that there were times that I was going, God, I don't want this gift because I'm seeing stuff that's happening that's detrimental and I can't stop it. And I've really wrestled with that because it's knowing what to do with what you get. And when you're new to moving in this, your response is, I've got to let them know. I've got to warn them. And then when it's not received, it's a painful journey, to be honest. So going back to the story about my niece, now she was 14, 15 at the time, and I was shown so clearly that she was going to be in a car accident and it was not going to be good. And I woke up going, oh my goodness, how do I let them know? How do I let my brother know not to, that this is going to happen? Now, the relationship there was, I knew that my brother would not listen to me. He was never interested in the things that I had to say that were spiritual, or I always hit a bit of a wall, so to speak. Well, 3 days later, that very thing happened, and she ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She was paralyzed. And it broke my heart. I really wrestled with that because I felt guilty that I hadn't spoken up. I felt responsible, like all these emotions came with that. And it was like, oh my goodness. Now, no one knew that I had that dream. Only I knew I had that dream. So it was a bit of a, oh my goodness. And it's a learning process also. And I had to learn a lot from that. And years later, we ended up as a family sitting down and talking about all of this. And, as much as it was a horrific event, that young lady handled it with absolute grace and, courage. And, she's got a wonderful life now. She's even got children. But, that impact was really hard to witness spiritually and then see it actually happen. So, and I've got a lot of stories like that, guys, because I get a lot of downloads. I even had one just recently regarding my son and him being beat up, and there was a knife involved. I saw the knife and it was meant to be fatal. Now, when I woke up from that, I just went, no, it's not going to be fatal. And I shifted that in the spirit, but the attack still happened, right? He was not badly injured, but he still had the attack. And these are some of the things that you go, even though I didn't stop the whole thing, I stopped in the spirit the fatal aspect of it. So there's still influence in this. And there's some things that have come out of it that for my son has been some learnings. So this is where it's like, well, do we stop this, or are we hindering someone's growth? Are we hindering the things that they need to learn in the event? I mean, the fatality aspect of it, I would have been absolutely gutted. And my response was, no, that's not going to happen. So let me back, that was just the last 2 weeks. Let me backtrack to another dream that I had, was when my daughter was 13 and she had walked to a friend's house, which was just around the corner. And, you know, my daughter's becoming coming into being a teenager. She's starting to grow up. You need to give them some space to start to grow in responsibility. And it was like, okay, you can go to your friend's house, but you have to be back by a certain time. And she was adhering to the time limit that I had given her, and I had, for some reason, fallen asleep. And when I fell asleep, I had a vision of her being abducted. And as soon as I woke up from that vision, I went, no, you have to stop that. And this was the command that I had given in the spirit. And within 10, 15 minutes, I get a phone call that Jess, there was an attempt on her being abducted, but it didn't happen because I made a command that no, that's not going to happen. And she hid in some bushes and they couldn't find her. Even so these are the things, guys, that we have power and authority over. And it was like, no, that's not going to happen. Remember, not on my watch, or no, I'm not receiving that. That's the power that I've learned in saying, no, that's not going to happen. So, you know, part of dreams can reveal circumstances yet to happen, right? Or things that you're yet to step into. Again, another dream that I had was I used to build houses and was in real estate for a little while. And I had a dream about this particular house. And it was only Jess and I, that's my daughter, that was in the house. And I'm like, I would never buy a house like this. Like, I was really, you know, this is a really weird, but I'm walking through this house in my dream and I'm like, this is not the type of house that I would buy. So, okay, this is really interesting. And I saw the trees around it and I saw flowers all around it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. And I was like, oh, how come, you know, the rest of my family wasn't there? Because we're, you know, used to do everything together. And 10 years later, this is so funny, guys. 10 years later, I was asked to go to a at these people's house. And all of a sudden, the last day I was there for 3 weeks. The last day I walked up to this certain room in the house and I just went, oh my gosh, this is the house that I dreamt about. Because it was almost like a deja vu experience, because I'm like, I've been here before. And then it was like, oh, this is the dream that I had. And only Jessica and I were on that trip to America. So this is where our spirits can go before us. And it's like time travel, if you like to speak. It's prophetic, it's visionary. And it's, you know, it's like, I've been here before. So this is where we can do things unaware in our dream time, in our spirit. See, also your dreams can reveal destinies, your purpose. In the sense, I've had many dreams where God has shown me events and what I'm doing in that event. And you might find this hard to believe, but a lot of them was speaking to lots of people. So it was like God's going, this is what you're going to be doing. Now, I wasn't doing it what's in my heart. that this is what he's put in there. So he was preparing me and opening me up to those possibilities. And that's what's really exciting. You can know what's around the corner for yourself. So sometimes when you have prophetic dreams, it's like lucid dreams where you're fully aware that you are in a dream. Now, this is really interesting because sometimes these lucid dreams for me, and I'm fully aware, is when I go on assignment in my dreams. I'm taken to places in the spirit and I'm doing things. I'm talking to people, I'm connecting with people, or I'm taking action in, you know, things in the spirit that need to be done. Often your dreams can present like major changes, which can be personal growth, but also global events, local events, world events, you know, your neighborhood events, all that sort of thing. Now, sometimes, guys, when we activate this aspect of our spirit, it can come really like a flood. It's like you've opened the gates and the floodgates are flowing and you're getting a lot. And sometimes you've got to go, hang on a minute, let's just take this a step at a time so that it doesn't become overwhelming. Like when this first started really being activated in me when I was 23, I was just getting stuff all the time. Great, I loved it. But it's what do I do with that in a 3D world? How do I relate to that? How do I be relatable with others? Because you're bringing things from a higher frequency and not everybody can handle that higher frequency. Things are shifting now on the earth and people are becoming a lot more open. That's why we're having more of these conversations. And that's why it's important that people realize that their dream life, especially when it's spiritual, is part of who we are. It's part of how we are created. So another event that I had, now this was part during the last couple of years, there was some galactic shifts that was happening. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I was actually taken out to Orion and I was shown a battle that was happening. And it was a battle for good. Good was winning. But I got to witness that. And I got to release my heart and energy into that to back what was happening. Now, sometimes, guys, when you go into spiritual dreams, you don't actually have to do anything. You're just witnessing it. And part of you witnessing it is you're releasing the heart intent for good to win. And that's more and more we need to be doing this together in this era, in this season that we find ourselves, because that's how we're going to help shift a lot of the energy that's negative and part of what's happening. And people talk about global consciousness, and there's a fine line with that because, you know, they're talking about global Christ consciousness. And yes, we need that, but we got to be careful they're not talking about a one world religion. So there's two parallels happening here. And this is where we've got to find the truth in all of this, because we've got, you know, parallel lives running, and we can choose where we want to be and how things are going to turn out. And it is the numbers game, guys. It is us doing things united with the right intent, with the heart of God, and releasing that onto the earth. And we have got a lot in our favor happening right now. There is no doubt that we are, you know, that good is winning and that the things that are hidden are being revealed. But the things that are in you that are being hidden need to be revealed as well. And that can be things that need to be tidied up in your life, whether there's unforgiveness, all that sort of stuff, but also the revealing of who you are in this time and your purpose and the plan and your blueprint is really paramount in this time, because we are a portal and we carry frequency and energy that the world needs. So that's why I'm always, don't dismiss yourself, guys. There is something that you have to bring in this time and season. Doesn't matter whether it's a little thing or a big thing, because often the little things is what help creates the big things. So this is where, you know, the warnings, upcoming challenges. There are things that, you know, I can see that's coming at me that I'm already prepared for, so that I'm already forewarned is being forearmed. So sometimes there's things that I'm going, okay, this person is going to come after me, and I'm already aware of that. So there's no surprises. It doesn't take you out going, what the heck? Because you're already being told what's coming at you. And I've had a couple of those events. They're not pleasant, but I always know that God is with me in it. And that whatever they're coming at me with, the arrows just fall to the ground. It goes nowhere because I already know. And I already know how to, okay, I'm not connecting with that. I'm not allowing that influence to penetrate my life. Remember, we have the power to consent to what is happening, or we can reject it. Again, global events. This is, you know, for 12 months before COVID happened, and I was able to just spend, you know, basically every day in the spirit. I was getting the downloads of what was going to be happening on the earth and how it was going to happen. You know, I saw that, you know, Facebook would blow up, that YouTube's podcasts, all these different platforms would evolve, you know, different events over different countries. And sometimes when you're doing work with people in the spirit, you can go over a country and you can start to do things to bring the presence and the power of God into that nation. So sometimes we got to think bigger than what we, you know, just me and mine. And that is a growth aspect as well. And then when you start asking for insight into, you know, what's happening globally or what's happening in the nation, and I've got many stories about Australia, that, you know, that God was already preparing Australia for the things to come for good and taking out the evil or the negative energy. What happens often with kids' dreams are often dismissed. Sometimes they will have night terrors, and, you know, there can be a deep underlying fear that that child is, you know, subconsciously trying to deal with, but has no way of expressing it. And then it becomes expressed during their sleep, and it can be a trauma-based experience, which, you know, a lot of parents dismiss their kids' dreams. But, you know, I've learnt, well, you know, I had lots of dreams as a kid that when I would share things, my parents would just, you know, basically tell me to be quiet, because I grew up in the era of, you know, kids are seen and not heard. We need to flip that, because kids are very receptive, especially when they're younger, to the things of the spirit, because they're not deprogrammed out of their spirituality. And they sometimes, you know, out of the mouth of babes, absolute truth can come out. And I think that's part of the shift that we've got to bring globally, is that we don't dismiss kids' dreams, and ask them if they share that they've had a nightmare. Ask them to share with you, if they can articulate it, what that dream was, and help them start to break it down so that you can get to the root issue of what's happening. Now, I'll just sideline here a little bit. Sometimes kids can go into night terrors that have never had night terrors before because of something that you have brought into the house. Remember, items carry spiritual entities. And so I want to just put that out there, that we don't dismiss that we're looking for something that we've brought into the house that is affecting our children. So I just want to divert there a little bit onto different types of symbols that you can have in your dreams. Right now, number one, this is not a hard and fast rule of what these symbols mean. When I have a dream, how I wake up is a big factor of what the dream is. So let me explain that a little bit. If you wake up suddenly from a dream, and it's really clear, number one, I would be writing the dream down, or stay awake and process what you've just experienced. Now, when you have a divine dream, a dream that's been downloaded to you, it will be really vivid and clear. It's not confusing. It's not, oh yeah, I think this was in it. It's very vivid and very clear. This can also, you can also grow with this, as the more that you go into, the dream state, or getting divine spiritual downloads, as I call them, you can start to, get clearer. It's like, oh, I understand this more now. And a lot of people don't realize that you can go back into your dreams, right? And you can get more information. You can get more clarity by going back into your dream. Now, it's not a forced thing. It's like, okay, I've had a dream and I can remember parts of it. Now, if you sit and close your eyes, you will go back into that dream. And you will start asking questions. Remember, I'm the question girl. Always ask questions. It's going, right, is this relevant to me right now? What do I need to know out of this? And I'm going to give you some, little pointers of how to identify some of the things that are happening in your dream. Now, part of the indicators is a sense of flight. You can feel like you're flying, and it's like you're moving up, or you're changing realms. So let me also just touch on this, is sometimes when you have been dreaming and all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, that experience is that your spirit has actually gone and it's coming back. Does that make sense for people? Have anyone experienced any of that? Sometimes it can be a sense of fear, like you're gripped by fear. It's okay, just calm yourself, because you've changed dimensions and you've come back into your body form. It's not astral traveling. Can I just put that on the table? Astral traveling is a completely different aspect to the spirit, and I won't go into that now, but that's not what you're doing, right? This is when your spirit is on assignment. It's gone to do things that the Lord or God has asked you to go and do, okay? So doors or bridges or gateways are really significant in your dreams, because you're changing realms. Often I've opened a door and I've gone from this realm into a heavenly realm or a godly realm. I've gone into different rooms of different aspects of the heavens or the spiritual. And, you know, it took me to open the door to then go in it. So this is where free will is always involved, guys. It's not, nothing is against your will. And that's really important that you realize that. If you wake up in absolute fear that you can't move, you can't even speak, and some people do have this, then get your mind clear and start to call on the angels, start to call on God to come and help you, because there can be times that it's almost you're paralytic. The fear is so huge. And as you grow in your learnings on understanding your dreams and receiving divine downloads, that you won't have that fear. It's often when you're just beginning, you can experience that, because there'll be a little bit of opposition. And, you know, that's where you're learning to grow in your authority of knowing who you are. And remember, God is always with you in it. You are never alone. You've always got help and you've always got backup. It's just a case of asking for it. Obviously, you know, dreams can be loaded with symbolism. Sometimes there's a conversation in your dream. You could be eating something in your dream, or a light being or an angel could be giving you instructions. So this is why it's important that you be able to go back into them to get what you might have missed, because some people have dreams and they run with it without even stopping to go, okay, what's the whole picture here? And again, I know somebody that, you know, had a dream about Jonah in the whale, and decided to open a fish and chip shop called Jonah. And what happened with that is they opened this fish and chip shop that failed miserably and they lost everything. So, you know, and they were looking for a business to start, but basically they got swallowed up. So the dream did not mean what they thought it meant, which was really sad, because they were really lovely people. But this is where we can jump ahead with our interpretation instead of asking the spirit to clarify. Now, one thing I have learned is that, you know, God is always happy to clarify. He's always happy to encourage you in what he has for you. So don't feel that you can't ask for clarification, or, you know, what's another word for it? It's like a confirmation, that you are constantly getting confirmation of the journey that you're on. And these are two really important questions, again, to ask. It's like, okay, especially if you're not sure, if you know that you're on the right track and the frequency, you know, the doors are opening for you, everything's falling into place, then you know that you're on the right track. That doesn't mean that you don't check it, that you continue staying on the right track, that, you know, that you're heading where you're meant to be heading. But I've found personally, when I'm not heading where I'm meant to be heading, it's like things start to filter away, and I feel like I'm about to change course. Okay, so, you know, these are all the things that you feel in the spirit. Your dreams, especially if you get a divine dream or a spiritual dream, it leaves a footprint. It's like it's still there in the spirit. It's the same as when you have an encounter with God, when you start to think about that encounter, you start to re-experience it, because it's like a footprint in the spirit. It's a footprint in your life. And I just got goosebumps saying that. So, you know, these are the things that are all available to you to give you the confidence and clarification and the confirmation on what you're experiencing. So let's look at some symbolism, symbolizing and interpreting your dream. Okay, e.g., being pregnant. Now, if I had a dream being pregnant, I'm well past being able to be pregnant. I know that I'm not going to physically have a baby. But I do know spiritually that I'm going to give birth to something. So, and sometimes that dream will progress from just beginning of being pregnant, and that I'm percolating an event in my spirit that is in, what's the word when you're pregnant? Just gestation, where it's growing within me. And then sometimes I'll have a dream where I'm giving birth to it. So these are part of the things that can happen while you're dreaming. So let's have a look at some symbolism for you, just to, you know, for a bit of fun's sake, I guess. So, you know, bikes, cars, buses, trains, planes, even a spaceship are indicators of, number one, where you're traveling. So for many years, I used to dream that I was in a car, and either I was in my car by myself or I was in a car with two other people. But then I started to have dreams where I was in a van, and I had more people in the van, but I'm driving the van. So, and then it could be you're in a bus, and then all of a sudden you're on a train, and then you're on a plane, and then all of a sudden you're standing in a stadium with, you know, 40,000 people. This, for me, was a progress of my growth, of my influence in the spirit. So often when, you know, people share their dreams with me and they go, Dottie, all of a sudden I was, you know, I was in a bus. It is an increase of your influence. It's an increase of the ears that are going to hear your message, right? So water in your dreams is, you know, the flow of water. It can represent a number of different things. That's why there's no hard and fast rule to some of the symbolism, because if you put it into a box, then you're going to miss some of the things that is trying to show you things. So, you know, they talk about water being emotions, healing, spiritual cleansing. It can be a flow of the divine. Also, for me, it's an encounter that I had was with the Hebrew letter Mim. And I heard an audible voice saying, stay in the Mim. Now, guys, I didn't even know what Mim was. I didn't even know it was a Hebrew letter. I had to go and find, I'm going, what the heck is a Mim? And I ended up going, you know, exploring that. And then I found out what the Mim was. Now, when you break down the word Mim in the Hebrew, it was the flow of the spirit, and it was to release wisdom and, you know, to carry that wisdom. And it was a huge experience for me, because it was a big turn in my life. It represented so much, and it still does, because it was God telling me what he was about to do and where I was going and what I had to do in it. And that was stay in the center, stay heart-centered, keep my focus on him, and he'll do the rest. I'm just in the flow, and I'm still in that today. I don't stress about things. I don't panic about things. I just stay in that flow of connection with the divine, staying connected in the spirit and not letting anything else distract me. Trees is growth or wisdom. It can mean stability. And it's interesting, there's scriptures that you can connect with a lot of these symbolism as well. The Bible talks about being trees of oak, right, which are long-standing, very strong, gives shelter. Like there's a lot of symbolism in being a tree. A door is an opportunity, a transition, going from one realm to another. Even in the spirit, if you're meditating and you see a door, again, it's an invitation to go into another realm. Let's see. A path, if you see a path in the spirit, I had a dream about a path, and it was like I was traveling along this path this way, and all of a sudden it went like this. And I was like, oh, okay. And there was this gentle uphill climb, and then all of a sudden it went like that. And I was very aware of this dream when I woke up, and I was like, okay, so I'm walking along, all of a sudden there's a gentle hill, and then there's this vertical expanse, and I was like, okay. And again, that was God showing me what was about to happen in my life. So, and I write everything down. I write all my dreams down. I have journals of dreams that when I go to be out of this world, my kids are going to have fun reading them. And often I feel led to go back to my dreams that I've written down, and all of a sudden I go, oh my gosh, that happened, right? Or this is what's happening now. So, and I've had dreams, about my kids as well, and I write them down. And part of writing them down is, it says write the vision. Scripturally, it says write the vision. He says, my people perish because of lack of vision. So your dreams can be part of the vision of what you're called to do and be. And it's really important. In your dreams also, you need to reflect on how your emotions felt in your dreams. Did I feel peace and love? Did I feel fear and confusion? These are all indicators of where the dream has come from spiritually. If you have lots of fear and confusion, you need to take that captive. You need to shut that down because it's the wrong energy for you. Now, every dream that I've had, even the ones that have been warning dreams, I've not felt fear and confusion. I've always felt a peace, but then, because there've been warnings, I've gone, oh my gosh, hang on a minute. I've got to go into action here, because some dreams call you to go into action. Part of that action is no, that's not happening. This is the power and the influence that you carry. Look, I've got heaps of symbolisms that you can probably look them up yourself. But the most important thing is that you ask the questions. If you see, say, a cat in your dream, don't just assume what most people will say about cats, which is like freedom, intuition, and femininity, because that's not always the case. You need to ask the spirit for the interpretation. Now, if you have someone that is, well equipped in the spirit, you can ask them what they feel that dream means, could mean. That doesn't mean that the minute they say it, that it's the whole truth. Now, sometimes people can share their dreams with me, and sometimes I just get the insight straight away. I've got the answer. I know exactly what it means. Sometimes I go, look, there's some things that are vague, but this could be what it is. And you're the one that has to interpret it. This is part of our growth, guys, taking responsibility for the things that we experience and the things that we do. This is where we're growing. This is coming into maturity. It's not always running to someone else to get your answers. You need to press in and find the answers for yourself. But it doesn't mean you can't get guidance or a bit of assistance. And there's nothing wrong with that. We are in this together. Yeah. So, you know, obviously buildings, different buildings represent different things. You know, sitting on your front porch can mean vision or future. You know, going to the gas station could be like God's telling you, you need to take time out to refuel. You need to re-energize. You need to reconnect because you've been giving out so much that you are not staying in the presence and the power of God. You're handing it out. Now, there's a difference. Let me say this. There is a difference. Let me go to the story where the 12 virgins have the oil, and 6 of them run out and 6 of them have to go back to get more. Is everyone familiar with that scripture? It's an example. But what the thing is, what God said to me, he said, it's not about going and getting more oil. It's how to access the oil without burning the wick. Does that make sense? It's like, in other words, stay fully saturated in the presence and in the love and the power of God, that you don't have to go looking for more oil, or you never burn out your wick. In other words, you never burn out. I don't understand when ministers or pastors or whatever say, I'm so burnt out. If they're burnt out, they are running on their own strength. So everything they do is in their own strength. That has, to me, and please, I don't mean to sound harsh on this, but it means that they are not doing things completely with God and in the Spirit. They're doing things in their own strength. And there's a real key in that, guys, because if you are doing things in the flesh, then you have to maintain it in the flesh. And that's what burns you out. When you stay connected with God and in the Spirit, you're staying in that love, in that, you know, his comfort, his guidance, you won't get burnt out. The more I do things in the Spirit with God, with the Spirit, the more energized I become. Like, I can go days without sleep because I'm buzzing with the presence and power of God. There's a big difference. Like, if we ran a conference, if I came over for a conference, I would be on 12 cylinders. It's just like, let's just go and go and go and go and go, because that's staying in the Spirit and moving with the Spirit. Yeah. All right. So anything else here? I know there's a lot to it, but I hope that's helped. So number one, let me just break this down. When you have a dream, first of all, how you wake up, right, after you've had the dream. Is it still vivid in your mind? Is it still clear in your memory? And then if it is, start to write down what was in your dream. What were you at a door, going through a door, going into a different realm? If you went into that different realm, what did it feel like? Was there light and love? Was there a green pasture? Was there a river in that realm? Was there, did you go into the realm of records or the scrolls of destiny? Like, did you see books? Did you come upon angels? And if you did, what were they? Were they really big ones? You know, were they singing? Were they talking to you? These are some of the things that you need to ask yourself. Did you wake up with this this aspect of wisdom and insight into a situation of what you need to do next. Now, can I just say this? Wisdom is not only accessed while you're dreaming. You can ask for wisdom every minute of the day. In fact, she makes a great partner in doing life together, or the spirit, whatever you want to call her. But to me, they're all come from the same source, and that is God. There's this, I find that there's this fragmentation of, well, wisdom's over here, and, God's over here, and the spirit's here, and, Jesus is back here. That I don't see that. When I go into the spirit, they are all working together. They are all there available to me regarding the situation that I'm in. So please don't dismiss your dreams. If you're unable to understand it, please, if you remember stuff, just write it down anyway. I've had some really unusual dreams years and years ago, and so I remember it very, very clearly. And there were certain animals in the dream. I was like, okay, what does that mean? And now that dream has given me full understanding on where I'm at right now and what I need to do. So dreams are very futuristic in some aspects, and they will be getting you ready, or, preparing you for what's up ahead. So I think I'll leave it there. If you don't understand a dream, don't worry about it. Just put it on the shelf. And this for me is something I've always done. People can share things with me on what they feel is truth in the spirit. I never dismiss it. I do stay open, but I'll just put it on the shelf. And I'll go, okay, let's see if more of that conversation comes up. And is there things I need to learn? Is God showing me there's some areas in my life that I need to be more open to this? Now, if it's not from God, it doesn't come back. The conversation never happens. If it is from God, all of a sudden there'll be a snowball of those conversations. And that's really exciting. So then you go, oh, okay, there's something in this. Yeah. And then you start to explore. I do spend as much time as I can processing a lot of the things that I hear and see, because I'm trying to find what's truth and what's not. Truth is very important to me because it's really important to God. So it's always having his heart and his wisdom and insight on the situation. All right. So I'm kind of hesitant to go, are there any questions? Because I feel like I'm going to get bombarded. So let's see. What will I say here? Jenny, help.
You can just take one question or two. You can limit it.
Yes.
Sorry, Dottie, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry, is it all right if I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
My husband had a dream last year involving my father. So my father came to him in the dream and was trying to express a number, either 10 or 11. He just kept repeating a number, 101 or 10, and it just, so that was the dream, and we were trying to understand. There was obviously a message he was trying to pass on, and and I just thought I'd share that one if you've got any insights on that, Dottie.
That's fine. So firstly, the question is your father passed away?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So firstly, the number 10 means governmental. 101 means one-on-one encounter. right? And if it's 1-1, it's talking about an alignment.
Mm,
So
okay.
they're the things that the numbers mean. Now, I don't want to get into it too deeply, but it's like, was there ever unresolved issues between your husband and your father? So these are some of the questions you need to ask. Now, let me just touch on this, because you can have encounters with those that have passed away, because they're not dead. They're still alive. They're just in another realm, right? And they are still alive in you because you carry them in your heart and you carry their DNA. Okay. So I don't get messages from my dead parents, so to speak. But I don't really step into that, because it can be borderline tricky, in the sense that you can be opening a gateway. And I'm not saying this is the case, Leanna. I'm just giving an example, a really valid point to bring up, that in the sense of, the enemy can come and try and impose someone from the past for you to believe in them, in that entity. That's not the case with what you just shared, Leanna. I don't feel that's the case at all. But I just want to share that with people from the dream aspect. And sometimes entities can try and pop up in your dreams. And I don't want to freak people out, but I will say it. I have been, I've had entities try to abduct me in my sleep. And they've even come with a net to try and shut me down. And, you know, God's always with you in there. So as soon as that happened, I woke up and just yelled at them, no, get out. And they have to go. So, you know, these experiences are not to scare you. I want to really express this, guys. This is to train you. This is to grow you in your authority. That if there is something that's going to happen and you don't want it to happen, like I don't want to lose my son. So I'll stand, I didn't want to lose my daughter. So I'll stand and say no. And it has to obey. Okay. So, you know, those numbers are very significant, and that's what the interpretation is there. So I'll let you think on that. Anyone else?
Thanks, Dottie.
Thank you. Lisa?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Dottie, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know that Hans has a question, but he says it's not really a question. What he experienced, and perhaps you want to stay as yourself, but I can also do it. His second child was a crying baby. So she cried all night, and during the day she was silent. So, and then in 2021, 20, sorry, she committed suicide. So the whole life there was something present that he was not aware of or what. So, and there are a lot of babies having this crying. So he couldn't sleep, his wife couldn't sleep, and it was terrible, right? So
she would wake up during the night every 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Crying.
So is this
during
also,
the day she would sleep.
Is it also having to do with
lasted about 1.5 years.
Yeah, well, you know, it certainly can be. This happened from the moment she was born?
No, 4 weeks after she was born.
4 weeks, okay. It most definitely could have been an entity. Now, I had my daughter Jessica, when she was born, she used to cry and wake up. She could hardly sleep. And I was like, something's not right. And what the spirit revealed to me was that her stomach was acidic. And I took her to a naturopath, and I got drops to change her acidicness in her body, and I never had that problem again. So it's a case of, every case is different. Every situation is different. It's, you know, if you are connected with God, you need to ask him the questions. A lot of the time, can I tell you, our humanness, we presume, we assume without even asking God. Okay, so many people assume, and I think this is a big shift that we've got to come into. So let me give you a prime example of this, is that something happens between two people, and then we hear one side of the story. Just say I hear Jenny's side of the story. This is just an example. And Jenny tells me her side of the story, but there's another person that's involved in this situation. It's not that I don't believe Jenny, but I've only heard Jenny's side of the story. So then I run with Jenny's side of the story. I, in fact, get offended on her behalf because she shared with me an injustice that's happened. And now I've assumed that everything that she says is right about that person. Now, assumption is what we do too quickly. We hear one side of the person's story and we just think that's the whole truth. But I have learned that there's two sides of a piece of bread. There's their side and there's Jenny's side. And to get the whole truth, I need to hear the other person's side, because 9 times out of 10, there is a miscommunication. There is a sense of an assumption or an expectation, or there's underlying hurts that has created this event that they are now having an issue. This is where we have to step back and go, okay, I sympathize with what's happened to Jenny. This is just a scenario. This is nothing's happened, guys. So don't assume that there's an issue, because there isn't. There's no conversation that I've had with Jenny. I'm just using her as an example. Because half of you will go, oh, something must have happened. No, nothing has happened. All is well in the life of Jenny. But this is what we do. We assume. We take bits and pieces and we run with it. And what happens? It becomes gossip. That's what gossip is. It's an assumption. It's got an element of truth, but it's not the whole truth. And this is why it is so paramount, guys. Everything that you hear, everything that you do, everything that you receive in the spirit, anyone that's teaching you anything, please ask for clarification, ask for confirmation, so that you are getting the whole truth and the whole truth for you. We are all at different levels of truth, but we're all growing in what truth is for us, for you, for me. Right? All the examples of my dreams are truth for me, but you haven't experienced them. So you can't take my dreams and make them your truth. Does that make sense? Because you didn't experience it firsthand. You can hear about them. You can go, oh, well, if that happened to Dot, that can happen to me. Yes, that's true. But it's still not your truth until you experience it firsthand. And that's why honestly, the whole encouragement here is, guys, these are the things that can happen. They happen to me, but they can happen for you if you want it, and you can grow in it. So you can stand in your truth.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So there's a good chance there was a negative energy influencing that child. She might have had some internal issues that you were unawares, because it's really hard for a child. You know, I found, you know, being a mum and having children was like playing charades and never winning, because you always got to guess what's going on. Do they need to be fed? We do the basics. Do they need to sleep? Do they need their nappy changed? And do they need to be fed? We never stop to look at, oh, what does that child need spiritually and emotionally right now? Because we've been programmed just to worry about the 3 fundamentals, but we haven't gone beyond that. And and that's part of, you know, if you're going to be a mum, if you want to be a really good mum, you always got to stay in tune in the spirit, because you always know then what your child needs, because God will tell you. And thank you, God, you always did. And still does. Just because they're in their 30s is nothing. They're still my children. I co-created them, and I still have authority in the spirit over them. A lot of people go, once they're 18, that you don't have influence. Oh, yes, you do. All right. Is that all good? Did everyone enjoy that? Did you learn something from that? Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're 10 over, so I hope you're all good with that. Thank you so much, and we will talk next week. Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dottie.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dottie.
Judy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Inga.